All right, so thank you for joining us again. We're having from Dubai. We have William Ruffin of Nerderati, an upcoming digital geek magazine for the GCC. On the other side of the world, we have Des Taylor, who's the owner creator of Despop Entertainment and Despop Art. Des is a pinup artist, designer, TV host, and comic creator. All right. So for today, we're going to talk about the much anticipated, very much hyped Snyder Cut. Are you guys up to it?
What do you mean about up to it? What do you mean?
I think that was an understatement, isn't it? Especially for you, William.
we got. Will is the biggest Snyder fan.
Yeah.
And I am on the fence with it.
All right. I mean, okay.
I will say one experience I had with Snyder. All right. So I went to the premiere, Batman vs Superman, in London.
Yeah.
And glitz, glam, and all that stuff. When the film finished, it was the weirdest experience in that cinema. Everybody just left quiet. Went out into the
Looking black.
Had a few of the stars and everything. And people still weren't really talking about the movie. It was just like, it was only like when we went into the bar down the road,
right?
A little after party thing. That's when people started letting off. And there was a lot of disappointment in it.
Okay.
For me, personally, I was sort of dragged down. I mean, Man of Steel, a lot of people will tear it to shreds. I actually enjoyed Man of Steel. It's just for me, the last 20 minutes was just too much. It was just no accountability, and seeing Superman just recklessly destroying the city.
What do you mean reckless? I'll tell you this. When you come down to Dubai, you and I can lock up and wrestle, and let's see if you could get free from me and save some little girl about to take in too much sugar at the same time. Come on, man. How you?
I'm gonna say this. All right. So let's just say, take for instance, I'm Superman, you're Doomsday, and you're having this fight in the city. Whatever. Oh, sorry, Zod. You're having this fight in the city. And you look, I hate to do this. I hate, but I have to. The comparison with Reeve, Superman, and this one, you just think his first thought was citizens. And if I was Superman, my first thought would be, I need to take this fight out of this city because there's going to be some collateral damage. My first thought. That was what irked me. Out of the whole run of the Zack Snyder Superman films, there's the one thing that main thing just really annoys me. Is that one, he doesn't seem to be saving everybody. Everybody's, oh yes, he saved that you saw that scene with him.
A world engine, yeah.
Yes.
You saw the scene with him lifting, moving that shit. Cruel. You saw that scene with him with the two people on top of the roof. I'm like, he's hovering. When he did that to save them, he's there begging you to put a big old ass, and he's there hovering. You saw him pull the ship. You didn't see nobody on the ship. You saw him
people on top. They were on top of the ship. Look, let me
just finish this one thing. This will just set it up. This will set up my entire argument. So going back to Donner's Superman, the main thing that you see in those movies, even the rubbish ones, Superman 3, Superman 4, you see public reaction to what he's doing. That's what makes Superman great. Mm-hmm. Public reaction. Even like when he's like whizzing through past the city and saw the girls running to say, "Oh my God, there's Superman!" When he lands in Times Square and you see him do this, he buries himself on the ground. There's car stopped, in the bus. There's people looking at him doing something. That's the one thing that was missing from Zack Snyder's films. We wanted to see public reaction. Then, when they all have adulation to him, it would make sense. Rather than everybody's looking up and they're just seeing this blue blur beating up this black blur, and like on the ground, like, what the hell's going on? Not one person stopped to say, well, look, see the blue alien they call him Superman? He's on our side. And he's kicking his other ones up. Then you understand, oh, so he's on our side? Then there's that whole thing with the hope. There's a hope that the building ain't gonna drop down on my head because we've got this blue one here. He's fighting for us. That makes him a Superman. And that was missing. That's
what's missing.
So, we're going on to the Snyder Cut.
Right.
I respect that as an artist. Mm-hmm. Imagine me creating something and then I'm having to leave the project. Obviously, the reason why you have to leave the project.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then somebody else comes in and then just does that. You're like, well, that wasn't my vision at all.
That wasn't my plan.
Was that your film? That film was whack. Because that ain't nothing to do with me. That was somebody else's thing. And then you got the chance to put it right, to show your vision. I'm all for that. 4 hours,
I love it. Look. So let me. So
obviously it does make a lot of sense.
I wish so does that?
What you said, Ian?
I had said that from the beginning. What I was trying.
No, I think what Des was trying to say is that somehow your points make sense in a realistic current view.
Yeah.
All right. Because
on the flip side, this is why DC gets so much stick when you look at the Marvel films. Because the Marvel films, see, that's escapism and stuff.
Yes, exactly. That's where you are. I mean, that's what you perceive, basically.
The Avengers come out, and Avengers, Captain America's jumping on the thing, I need to get people underneath there. And he's like, that's commanding. That's what I wanted from Superman when I saw that film. I wanted
exactly.
That.
In fairness, yes.
That is it. When people they're taking comic book characters in Marvel's cinematic universe, it's pretty much, it's so much fantasy, it's unbelievable. And then it's DC, they're saying like, we're going to do this in the real, make this realistic. And then you saw like, well, the majority of people didn't want realistic. They wanted what Marvel's doing.
They want to have that escapism that you were saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But
I'm even getting with that whole multiverse thing. I'm just like, okay. So what? There's 58 different Earths, yeah? I live on this Earth. I can't business what's going on Earth. What I mean? I just want to concentrate on my Superman, my Wonder Woman, my Batman.
Exactly.
I'll tell you this.
Actually, sorry. I mean, that concept of what Des was saying, it actually brings us to another question then. Does that mean that people or the producers should actually make the films that the fans are expecting? Or should they be free to have their own interpretive reign on how they're going to show their film?
See, but that's the beef, right? Because look, they're free to make their own film. Look at Zack started out with the Snyder Cut movement, right? What the Snyder Cut movement? What did it do? It broke the gatekeeping community, because you got to remember there are people around the world that like what Zack Snyder did. Released the Snyder Cut movement started in China with the girl named Fiona Zhang. That's what I'm saying. So there are many people globally who like this take. So,
right. I perfectly agree. I agree with you on that one.
Half of the fan base, so for one half of the fan base to dictate to the other half of the fan base what is definitively this IP, I think is incorrect, especially, and this is what I'm saying, if I'm a Christopher Reeve fan, right? I got 4 Christopher Reeve films. Why would I tear down this experience, right, for people who like it? You know what I'm saying? I'm a Bruce Timm animated series fan. I got 5 or 6 years of Bruce Timm work between Batman, more than that, between Batman, the animated series, Superman the animated series, Justice League Unlimited, plus DC animation. I got 6 seasons of Lois and Clark, 10 years of Smallville. So what happens is that, when people get into this kind of gatekeeping thing and you have the experience that you like, ultimately there's something for everybody. So even for me, like, for Bendis, I love Miles Morales, right? But on his Superman, I disagree with him. It's a philosophical disagreement. And then when Bendis did Avengers Disassembled, I was like, hey, I rock with it. And there are people that don't like that. So what happens is that I'm looking at Zack Snyder as his own individual run. And whenever there's a run of a comic book, be it TV, movies, or whatever, you may not always philosophically agree with that artistic team. So in the future, if they decide to revamp a Donner-style Superman and I don't like it, I'm not going to get on the internet and burn people down who like it. You know what I'm going to do? Yeah. I'm going to go sit in front of this computer just like I'm doing right now. I'm going to hit play on Man of Steel, and I'm going to rock out with the Snyderverse that I like.
Mm-hmm. Well, off topic about that one. Yeah, sorry. I mean, you mentioned something about the hashtag thing. Okay, in my opinion, that's how everything started. I'm not really sure if there really was a Snyder Cut before. But then again, do you think the hashtag movement was pivotal for the release? And do you have an opinion regarding the movement that started it? Meaning, was it divisive? Was it helpful? How do you think about it? I mean,
obviously it's divisive because, you know, I mean, people are having these conversations like, you know, every day.
That's the thing. I mean, if we're having division regarding the release the Snyder Cut thing, I'm not really sure if that was helpful on the interpretation of the current one who helmed the film. Remember, you have a theatrical release. There's someone who's on top who's deciding, okay, this is the flow of the film. Unfortunately, Zack cannot continue it, so we'll hand it over to someone and then continue with the film. All right. My main point here is that, okay, each one will have their own interpretation to it. Unfortunately, Zack couldn't complete it. It's only now that he's doing it because of the movement. Couldn't, like, say, the film distributors or the licensors or whoever is deciding on these films could have just continued the story instead of doing a Snyder Cut.
No, they couldn't, because what they wanted at the time was, you know, they were looking to copy Marvel and to compete with Marvel instead of running their own race, right? And so what you got to remember is this: it's not that the DC films are bad. I'm going to give you 2 points.
All right.
One of the main points is that in Western pop culture, the DC characters are known, baby. Everybody in the Justice League is A-list. Marvel got a freebie with Avengers. Do you know why? Because people didn't know what Iron Man was until this came out. So unless you're a comic book reader, a lot of people are not that invested. Trust me. Think about it like this, right? If you had people who are hardcore comic book readers, right? The Tony Stark that you saw on Disney ain't the Tony Stark in the comic books.
No, it was
the Mandarin that you saw.
Let's not get into that.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Because I'll never forget, my wife was like, well, Iron Man is better than Batman. And so I went to my comic book collection and I pulled out an old story called Demon in the Bottle. And I said, if you think you like Tony Stark, read this. And she's like, no, I don't want to read it. Right?
Yeah, because you should have dropped Hank Pym on her.
You know what I'm saying?
Man.
So this is what I'm trying to say. So what happens is that, remember, the thing about DC is that some way, somehow, everybody has an experience and an interpretation of DC characters because they've been in the media. If I'm Marvel, Iron Man, Thor, Black Widow, I am free to do whatever I want with those characters. The only characters in Marvel that you won't be free to play around with will be like the Hulk, Spider-Man. X-Men, Spider-Man, right? Beyond that, unless you're a hardcore comic book reader, Marvel is free. Whereas for DC, people already have it in their mind what Superman is, what Batman is, what Green Lantern is.
That's because of yes.
Huh?
DC has a massive portfolio of characters too.
All right.
That they could do.
Yes.
True.
Massive.
No, but correct. But what you want to see is, again, in this whole comic book thing, what people wanted to see was them roll out their A-list, right? That's what you wanted to see. You wanted to see the A-list on screen the same way that you saw the Avengers. And the other thing is that you got to remember, when the DC stuff came out, Marvel was at the peak of its product life cycle, right? And so at that point, people are already accustomed to what Marvel is doing. And the second thing is that what Marvel was doing, whether the films were good, mediocre, or somewhere in the middle, you had a guy like Kevin Feige controlling the narrative. So Kevin Feige would say, this is what we're doing. This is what's happening, and this is where we're headed.
Yeah, continue this.
Yeah.
DC don't seem to have people that can write heroes.
What do you mean write heroes?
They can write villains for days.
What do you mean right here? What are you talking about? Henry Cavill is amazing. What are you?
No. I'm not talking about DC Comics. No. Just
DC Comics.
About the movies. They don't have someone that can write a hero. They've forgotten how to write a hero.
What defines a hero?
What defines a hero? Yeah. They've forgotten.
Okay.
I totally agree with what you're saying. And the criticism, it's a dark world and all that stuff. Star Wars. I mean, they were just coming out then. People were sick and tired of all of this, that, and the other. And they said, you know what? I want to create something that's going to be uplifted. Star Wars comes out and it uplifted the entire freaking planet.
Yeah.
You've got Superman. He was the ideal of heroism. And there's all this darkness and stuff going on. And you know what? Funny enough, one of my first thoughts, going back to what you said about 9/11, when that happened, I thought, well, superheroes are pointless now. Because where was, how can they explain, where was Superman in that day? Well, so anyway, back to heroism. In this dark time, you think, you know what, we're going to do something that's going to uplift everyone. This is going to have, the darkest villains in there and everything, but Superman's going to be that shining light in this.
But that's what I'm trying to say. But you know what's dope though? I got two younger brothers who are millennials, who are 9 and 10 years younger than me. And this is the 90s. And I pull out my Superman comic books and I'm like, here's Superman. We watch the Richard Donner stuff. We watch Lois and Clark. And my younger brothers look at me and say, this is trash. It is unrealistic. It is unrealistic and it doesn't make sense, right? Then my brothers go see Man of Steel. Matter of fact, my youngest brother, who's a hardcore comic book reader, I was like, yo, did you go see Man of Steel? He said, man, I went to go see Kevin Hart for me. Superman is corny. I said, go see Man of Steel. And then when he walked out of Man of Steel, he said, now that makes sense to me. And so what I'm trying to say is that for the audience, in terms of marketing and narrative and everything else, if DC was missing anything, like Zack Snyder said, Zack Snyder's like 5 films that are ultimately about Superman. Superman is the central character in these 5 films, and all I want to do is show you how he got from A to B. So that way you can see, so for example, even now, living in a cynical world, to see somebody go from not being sure to cynical themselves to bright and hopeful, had you let that play out, that might be a roadmap for the 21st century. Right? Because this ain't 1980 something anymore when Ian and I were kids, where you could walk out of high school and get a nice factory job, and support your family and buy a house. The world is completely different now. And so this Superman, over the course of 5 films, more than likely for society as a whole, would have been a roadmap to go from cynicism to hope and optimism. Because what did Bruce Wayne say in BVS in terms of diamond absolutes? So when I was a boy, truth, justice, and the American way was a diamond absolute. Is that the case now?
No. Hell no. Okay. So just hear this. So my other daughter, right? Now, so she's 9 now, right?
Yeah.
I showed her the Christopher Reeve Superman, and you know what one of my favorite parts of that movie is? Like when he saved the cow out of the tree and talked to the little girl. Because obviously she's a little girl. She goes, oh, I'm gone. So I goes, oh, would you talk to Superman if he landed? And you know what I mean? He goes, oh, yeah, he's brilliant and everything. So I was like, all right. Man of Steel. And then I goes, what about this Superman? And she just stops and she looks and she goes, oh, this he's scary. I was like, oh, really? Because he's a bit scary. Like,
and which realistically he would be. Remember, a lot of people's experience with these characters is television. It's not comic books.
Yeah, right.
Right.
It's not comic books. Yeah. So here we go. Superman again. Superman Earth 1, right? So look. New York Times bestseller,
I don't believe that.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? New York Times. Take the. You know what I'm saying?
I can copy paste that also.
So let me. Don't worry, Des, because I'm gonna save your pop culture soul, right? You know what I'm saying? Hey, have you heard about my Lord and Savior Zack Snyder? Do you have time to hear?
We won't go into that. It's going to be expensive, and we don't have time for it.
You know what I'm saying? I got pamphlets and all. I got pamphlets.
You know what? Let me go over there. Here we go. Before we go here, right?
Okay.
Look at this. He is the biggest Zack Snyder fan ever. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Right? It's be like me. Just go, whatever. You know what I mean? He's enjoying it. Then we would have none of this rubbish. You know, where people just blasting people.
Exactly.
Liking the film.
Can I ask you guys, are we saying that, you know, the hashtags release the Snyder Cut and anything like that is not really toxic fandom?
No, it's not toxic fandom. Man, these shirts that you bought from Zack Snyder raise money to prevent suicide, right?
That's true. I have one. Close to $1 million. So the release the Snyder Cut fan base, you know what I'm saying? Again,
I hate that word, toxic fans.
Exactly.
It's, you know, it's something, I don't know, Access Media is just given to stop ordinary folks from having a voice. Right?
That's the thing. That's the thing.
Going above, you know, I mean, abusing people. You know, that's not toxic. That's just a fool. It's an idiot. Those are just call them idiots.
Correct. Because if you
passionate like you about something, and
that's your opinion. You're entitled to it.
But you know what, Des, to your very point, and that's what I'm trying to say, and that's what the movement was a victory against, because you had a lot of large internet channels dictating to people what's cool and what isn't. Yeah. So, matter of fact, when after all the drama with BBS, Warner Brothers ended up inviting these social media influencers to the set of Justice League to prove that DC can have fun. What does that? That's what I'm saying. What does that mean? Who are these people to control the narrative for, like I said, again, for other groups of people in terms of what they like I said, and what they enjoy. And when you, like I said, when you look at all of this stuff, it's all runs. So for me, whenever I get my Christopher Reeve nostalgia, I'll go back and watch Superman 1 through 4 and even Superman Returns, because Brandon Routh was ultimately reprising the same Superman that Christopher Reeve was playing, right? And so, you know, when you look at fans and, like I said, when you look at fans and you look at fandom and all of these things, right? You know, I know that a lot of people have their own personal experiences and their connections and everything else, but ultimately, you don't own these characters. And so for me, I'm shocked, especially for comic book fans, right, to rage out the way that they did. Because for me, if you make a Spider-Man movie, I'm going to say, man, I hope they use the Mike Straczynski run of Spider-Man, because that's my favorite run of Spider-Man. Right? You know, I hope they use the Jim Lee X-Men, you know, from the 90s, because that was my favorite run, or a Perez Wonder Woman. Right? And so that way, and so like I said, again, my whole, and that was my beef with Access Media, because a lot of these guys were claiming to be pop culture experts, right? They were claiming to be pop culture experts. And so if you are a pop culture expert and you have influence over hundreds of thousands of people, how come you can't educate them and say, hey guys, if Man of Steel shocked you, go back and read Superman Earth 1, right?
Well, why are telling them already? None of these culture experts have read a comic, right? And comic fans like you, me, and I mean millions of others have been fighting. Remember, we were the freaks. We were the, you know, I don't know what you support. Yeah? Hey, the story. Right. One guy used to destroy me at school for loving comic books and collecting comics. Destroy me. He was this, that, and the other, and all that stuff. Spreading rumors about me. See me come to a Comic Con with these kids pushing the pram. Oh, Des, man, what are you gonna make it? Because you like to stuff. Give you some of I used to know this guy. Oh, man, I ain't such a freak now, innit? I charge you double for that, by the way.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Again,
with Snyder Cut right now, I mean, one of the things that my question would be is that it would address the story, meaning to say his vision, completing how he wanted to do the run.
It's not complete. No, it's not.
That's the thing. The next question there is, how do you think it's going to move forward?
If it's a hit on HBO Max, right, and HBO Max sees success out of it, again, capitalism, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They'll announce that Justice League 2 and 3, because you got to remember, right? HBO Max, right? You got Disney Plus, right? So Disney Plus is banging with The Mandalorian, WandaVision. You know what I'm saying? You know, Falcon and Winter Soldier. So if you're HBO Max, you don't have that kind of pop culture hit, right? That's a major draw. So if this is a hit, then
so you're saying it's a litmus test.
Yes, a litmus test. Yeah,
a litmus test.
So the Snyderverse. If this litmus test works, then the Snyderverse will be a draw. For
So what are you saying? Warner Brothers or DC are just waiting for what will happen for this, instead of them creating the whole story and the whole universe in the first place. It's like hit and miss.
Well, here's the thing. Warner Brothers will never be rid of Zack Snyder, because the only way to get rid of him is to blow it all up and start over. Listen, you're still making films with his Wonder Woman. You made $1 billion with his Aquaman, and you're going to sequel his Aquaman. You're going to make a Flash movie with his Flash.
Are you saying, William, that the main problem is not necessarily the Snyder Cut? It's not the hashtags, it's not this and that. It's actually the main story guys who's supposed to be running the show in Warner or DC.
It's those guys, because they're not backing their product and they're not supporting the narrative. Are you in
agreement with those of like the reboots and stuff like that? I mean, right now there's going to be the Matt Reeves Batman, the new Suicide Squad, coming out, which is I maybe that's the reason why they're doing the Flashpoint thing, so that all of this will connect with each other later on.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I think the only thing that they really have to do is to let Zack Snyder finish, because you won't be rid of his influence. You won't be rid of his influence, because the Harley Quinn is still in a Suicide Squad. James Gunn is just doing a sequel. That's not a separate universe like Matt Reeves' Batman. It's not separate. You know what I'm saying? It's not a separate thing. So
I think if for them to reboot again, it would just be like what they're doing in comics.
Exactly. That's the same thing. It's just keep on repeating itself. And people are getting tired about it, I think.
Affleck back Batman, and just, okay, they've got the new Batman film, whatever, even introduce him, but, stick with this. The beautiful thing about Marvel films is they stick with what they got.
Exactly. There's one direction. There's one direction.
Well, 10 years
Marvel isn't perfect anyways. Marvel isn't perfect. They have their, the poorly reception Thor movies and stuff like that, but they continue. That's the advantage thing.
One way. Imagine you've got 10 years. 10 years is your book, and you're reading this book. And like any book, you have some weak chapters, but it's still a chapter in a story.
Right.
But you go to the DC thing and it's so disjointed. It's all over the place.
Unfortunately.
But that's the executives.
Regarding the Snyder Cut, what are you guys excited to watch about?
What's not to be? Man, I am. Come on,
go first.
Man, you talking about what? You gonna see the grand? Did you know that the Kirby family came out and thanked Zack Snyder for bringing?
Nice.
They came out and said, "Yo, what you're doing with Darkseid and Steppenwolf and Kirby's characters, we absolutely love it." So for me, especially with Zack Snyder's visuals and how Kirby has this crazy art, Kirby's is spiritual and technological and, you know, all that stuff and everything.
I can experience it with you right now.
Huh?
Like
I can experience it with you right now.
Yeah, man. And so, you know what I'm saying? So, man, you know, again, so for me to see, Black Suit Superman, you know, people come from Apocalypse, you know, people coming from Apocalypse and Parademons and all of that stuff. And I think that we all could agree with this because we old heads, whether it's Marvel or DC, and we're talking about the Snyder Cut, I'm happy because I never thought this would happen. We're going to see Superman and Batman beat up parademons on screen. I'm like, man, you lying. They'll never make those movies. They can't make those movies. And so, you know what I'm saying? And so for me, all of these things are a dream come true. And for young dudes today, I will tell you, you guys don't get bad movies. You don't get bad superhero movies. You might get stuff that's just okay, but with the technology and everything that you guys have now, you might watch it and go, okay, it was cool, but it was cool doesn't, like I said, doesn't make it bad. But for me, man, again, back to the Snyder Cut, man, I'm excited because I get to see Apocalypse, right? You know what I'm saying? I get to see Cyborg, right? And I'm all
don't mention
it,
anything about Cyborg right now. I mean, looking forward to it. I like the character, I like the guy, I like the superhero itself. But I think
I'm ready
what's happening there, I think it's another world.
Yeah, man.
That's another conversation, man.
That's another conversation.
It's very sad.
Man.
Me, personally, I'm going to treat it like I treat the Wonder Woman 84. I'm going to sit back and watch people rip each other to shreds on social media. And then I'm going to take my time, when I've got some time, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to watch it myself. It's 4 hours.
Yeah.
You get some food in, I'm just going to chill out and watch it and then make my own assumptions. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to happen. So you roll with it. Or if you don't like it, watch something else. We had 3 channels when I was a boy. 15,000 of them.
You have the dial also.
That's YouTube. Yeah, exactly. We don't have no remote. I had to get up and walk and touch the TV. And it was
correct. With the pliers. You have to turn TV with the
man know about hanger on the TV and reception. They can. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't need to be toxic. There shouldn't be any coercion. I think coercion is not really the solution for things. And let's just respect how the movie is going to go out. And hopefully, I mean, the executives, as what William was saying also, is that, you know, take into consideration what was the original plan for it and give us the DC expanded universe that all the fans deserve and like everyone's looking for.
Yeah. Yep. And if you have to be angry with somebody and, you know what I mean, spew out your hate, direct it to Arsenal fans, people. Arsenal. Right? Then they're going to get a pass from me. So Arsenal fans, direct that.
All right. Do you have any parting words to all the fans?
Just
all your fans here in the Middle East and in Dubai and Snyder Cut guys.
My peeps in the Middle East, just enjoy what you've got. You're living in the best age. If you didn't read comics, you should go pick up some. You know, and just enjoy what you've got. You know, you're blessed.
Facts.
That's it.
Facts.
Right.
Cool. William, got anything to say?
Nobody online, okay? If you're gonna be abusive to somebody, do it in their face and expect consequences.
All right.
I'm with Des, man. Just enjoy it, man. That's it. You know, just enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? Hey, relax like permed hair and just have a good time. Just relax like permed hair, baby. That's it. Have a good time and you know, enjoy it for what it is.
To you, William, the biggest Snyder Cut guy, Snyder Cut fan in the world, all right? What do you want to say to Warner Brothers right now?
Restore the Snyderverse. Let him finish. Justice League 2, 3, Man of Steel 2, Ben Affleck Batman miniseries. done. Let them finish.
Okay. Fair enough. Mic drop. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you again. Pleasure having you guys once again. Looking forward for more discussions about pop culture in general and whatever you guys are working on right now.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Much love, man.
Peace.
All right.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Peace.
Yep.
Peace.